Welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage. This is going to be another episode on the 66 Mustang budget race car build. So follow me along through the intro, guys, and I'll be back. Alright guys, so we're at the point where this thing is now painted inside and we are fully a roller and we have front brakes on the car. So we need to go a little further. So, yeah, where do we go from here? I think at this point we need to start figuring out if we can make these steel doors any lighter, or we need to order some fiberglass doors for the car. And also need to get them door jambs sanded down and primered. Just in case we do use steel doors, I want to go ahead and get that stuff, addressed. So let's see if we can find Daisy in the shop in here. Oh yeah, yep, there she is, riding the hide because she's ready to play. I have dug out one of the steel doors right here. This is the driver's side door. If you remember, these things were fairly rough from before. They got a bunch of holes drilled in them from previous dent pulling stuff. And Daisy wants to remind you about her shirts. They gets her extra treats and pets. So we need to get this thing. We're going to put it on a scale. It is still loaded with door panel, armrest, window cranks. The vent windows, door glass is still in it. So these are a fully assembled door with the door hinges. So we need to figure out what these things weigh. So alright, I got the scale set up here on the floor. And got our readout here and make sure we zero out our scales. These doors are pretty darn hefty on these cars, especially one that's fully loaded like this. So I'm just going to get it up here and hold it like I can. Make sure it's centered on these scales. This door weighs 79 pounds. So almost 80 pounds for a door. So, 79 pounds, right at 80 a piece. So, both doors with everything on them, including the hinges, that is 160 pounds of weight on the car. So, the question is, how much of it can we get rid of? That would be the big question. So, as you know, them doors are pretty rough, and they're not going to hurt anybody's feelings to cut them up. So, I guess I need to start getting these things apart, get the door panels, window cranks, armrest, all that stuff off of them. And we'll weigh it again and see what that stuff weighs. And we'll just keep going down the rabbit hole and seeing where we end up. So I got the door up on the stand. Before anybody gets upset that I mess up a set of good doors, guys, I want to show you this. That's Bondo and Fiberglass. Fiberglass and Bondo. This thing had been botched up before. So, looks like it's going to be pretty easy to get some of the weight out of it, because it's already naturally kind of coming out. So, the problem is we need to keep enough of a skin that we have some structure. I'd really like to keep the windows where they roll up and down. So, taking this out with some free weight reduction, whole ounces. So, let's get this stuff off here, door panel, and see what this door looks like on the inside. And to be honest, I didn't know this stuff was in there until I set this door up on the stand, and I was like, okay, well, game on, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, if anything, we're at least going to learn how much weight we can take out of a stock door. Their little fiberglass repair probably would have done alright if, they'd killed the rust. But, they didn't, and then you know, they didn't do none of that either. So, you know, all this done was hold water in the bottom edge of that door and brought it out even worse. Probably wasn't that bad when they put that in there. So let's get this stuff off here. So instead of weighing the door, I'm just going to weigh the stuff I take off of it every time. So I got 3 scales laid out so this is evenly distributed. So door panel, insulation pad, handles, and you know, the armrest. We're taking about 3.5 pounds off. So we'll weigh the door itself towards the end too, but this kind of give us a running tally. So 3.5 pounds off per side. That's quite a bit of weight just on bolt-on stuff. Now, I'm not going to take the door rubber off quite yet, but our next thing is I need to roll this window up because I don't plan on taking the glass out of it, because if we take the glass out of it, you know, we're going to have to do something there. So we need to kind of get an apples to apples comparison here. So let me roll the window up, see how much of the structure I can cut out of this door, because that's where the meat and potatoes is going to be, guys. Not in the door panel, not in the little stuff, but the meat and potatoes is actually what's in the structure left. And there's plenty of that old tar stuff on this thing too that can come out, and that's weight also. So let's see what we can get out of this thing. So bottom of the door, the inside door braces, and all the insulation and dirt that was sitting inside this thing. And this is what we're left with. It's still structurally sound enough for this window to roll up and down, but we killed all the extra weight that we could in the bottom half of this door. Couldn't really trim this back because our door brace bracket right here is attached to this, and I'm sure it could probably be trimmed too, but this is reinforcement for your hinge. There's some more weight we can take out in here, but we'll have to make some compromises to do so. But right now our window still rolls up and down, forward, back. There's still quite a bit of dirt in the bottom of this door that I've not cleaned out. I'm trying to keep this as realistic as possible, so I'm going to put that stuff right there on the scales and we'll see where we're at. And I'm going to just weigh everything together as we go. So we took out 3 the first round. We're at 8. Which means we are at a 71-pound door. Awful lot of material missing for that kind of weight, guys. So we're going to have to go a little bit deeper. We're going to have to lose a little bit more off of this. And most of the weight on this door is the glass itself. So the window regulator, all the track stuff, you know, door light stuff, that stuff does have some weight too, but I'm pretty sure by the time we get down to just an outer skin and the door hinge mounting plate and, you know, that kind of stuff, we're still going to have a pretty hefty little old door. And that's what's going to happen when you put a fiberglass door on it too, because they will accept all the factory stuff. So the question is it really going to be worth it? And this is what I've set out to find out in this video. So, like I said, we're at a, you know, we're at a 71-pound door shell at total right now. And it does need a lot of work. Which you just seen in the bottom hinge. It's pretty rusty. So, you know, ounces make pounds, guys. So we need to cut as much of this out as we can while still maintaining a functioning door. And in race car talk, functioning door means it opens and shuts and stays on the car, and you know, it's got something that resembles a window in a way. So, you know, let's see where we get. All right, window regulator's out. Door lock actuator is out. Left the rod so the door can still be opened. And that's pretty easy to address in a race car situation. You just have to put a handle somewhere up here. But I left this section because our vent window is attached to this. So I did cut it, but we still are mounted here. So I removed that section, some of the dirt, because I can't get it all out right now, and the regulator. So added that to our pile of other stuff on the scales. And that brings our total up to 17 pounds out. So we doubled our weight removed from there, but we're still pretty hefty. Meaning this door still weighs 62 pounds with all this stuff took out of it. So while significant in the grand scheme of things, this thing is still a porky beast. So I guess the next thing we need to take out, let's take out the glass, that vent window, see what that stuff weighs. At this point, I done pulled it out, and we come to a total of about 41.5 pounds to 42 pounds. So I know a bunch of you are probably like, well, why are you doing this? Why didn't you just order the fiberglass doors and be done? Because I really wanted to know how much that vent window, door glass, and all that stuff, how much is the actual difference by the time you add all this stuff back? And yes, I know. At this point, even with the steel door, we're going to have to put a Lexan window in it, a one-piece window, regardless. And we're going to have to do some rust repair. I wanted to kind of hash down exactly, considering this door's junk, hash down exactly how much difference there is between a fiberglass door. The problem is, there's none of these race weight fiberglass doors places that actually give you the shipping weight of their doors. All I have found so far was one guy on Yellow Bullet about 10 years ago bragging that his fiberglass doors weighed 10 pounds apiece. And I can assure you that a fiberglass door weighs more than 10 pounds. It has to, with a Lexan window and aluminum door frame to hold the glass up, and a door handle, you know, a way to get in and out of the door, and latch, and, you know, the hinges. And there is a lot of ways around this stuff, guys, but let's just say a fiberglass door weighs 16 pounds bare. Now, that is also, I do believe, generous. By the time you get enough fiberglass, build up 16 pounds a door is pretty generous. And that's with nothing in it. So we're going to compare bare shell to bare shell. Except I'm going to leave my hinges, door handles, and door latch in my door skin itself. At this point, there's nowhere else I can take any weight out of this door, because I went in here in the background and cut some of the miscellaneous brackets, like stuff to hold the vent windows on. I cut some of the front door brace, the hinges out of it. I've trimmed a little more metal here and there, and I really didn't take about even a pound out of it at that point. You know, probably, you know, somewhere around 10 ounces cutting that rest of this stuff out. It wasn't enough to trip the big scales up to the next pound up. So I'll leave it at that. So at this point, there's only one other thing in this door that weighs a significant amount of, you know, anything. So I'll flip around and show it to you. And that, guys, is this tar undercoating that Ford sprayed in these doors. And this is sound deadening. And hear the difference there. But this door is sprayed from here all the way back to here, and from here all the way up to here, all the way across. And this stuff is old and hard, so I'm gonna have to heat it to get it off. So let me get to getting this stuff off here. We'll see how much weight is actually here too. So now you kind of know why I'm doing it. I want to weigh out, like I said, it's going to cost almost $900 to my door to have a set of fiberglass doors shipped. And I was going to have to take these doors apart anyway to get the pieces out of them and put inside the fiberglass doors. So I want to know if it's actually worth it, worth my time to even order them. This door, yes, it is rusty at the bottom, but I can put a piece of sheet metal across the bottom and be able to attach a door rubber to it. It's kind of a waste of time to even put door rubber on it, but I'm going to, because, you know, even with the licks in window, it's not going to seal off. But the door rubber will keep some of that wind and stuff out of the car. Look at all that tar undercoating off there. Sound deadening. I put it in our window right here. That brought us up to a total of 47 pounds off this door. So 79 minus 47. That door weighs exactly 32 pounds. So definitely worth the time to scrape that stuff out of there, guys. That's 2 pounds right there. So 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 4 pounds, you know. Just 4 pounds of it between both doors. Some doors got more and some got less. This in the middle of it was, you know, a darn inch thick as it progressively got thinner towards the edges. So, you know, at this point I need to get all this junk off the scales, get this door skin cleaned out, and we'll weigh the door shell and see how close our weighing everything off the door and weighing the actual door varies. So, what does the door shell weigh? Now, keep in mind I got propped up at this vent window, and putting that there does make a 1 pound difference. But I couldn't hold this and show you guys at the same time. But I zeroed our scales back out. That door weighs 28 pounds. So the answer is 4 pounds difference weighing everything off versus weighing the door shell itself. And like I said, there's an extra pound there because of the vent window being propped up against it. Changed it by a pound. So, you know, we're looking at 28 pounds versus, you know, 14 to 16 pounds for a fiberglass door. That's not that much difference, guys. Not at all. So 12 to 14 pounds heavier for a steel door. I wonder where that weight could be. Maybe it could be in these cast iron hinges that I left on the door. The door handle that I left on the door. The door latch. The door rubber itself. You know, all that stuff adds weight. Because you're going to have to put that stuff on a fiberglass door. Is it worth it? $800 for... Let's just give it the benefit to get out here. We're going 20 pounds, right? 20 pounds difference total between both doors. So let's just say it will be $1,200 by the time it gets shipped to your house. Divided by 10. That is $120 a pound. So yeah, $120 a pound between both doors. Nope, not worth it. Not whatsoever. Yes, I'm going to have to fix a little metal in the bottom of that door. And yes, that's going to add a little bit of weight. But, I mean, come on, guys. It's just not worth it. Literally, you could buy a Golden Star door or a Golden Legion or whatever they're called now. The little thin Taiwan door shells. And it'd probably be lighter than that gutted door shell. It's a factory Ford door. Then you could slap a Lexan window in it. Your door latch. Buy some race hinges and mount it to that door, because that's going to lighten it up too. And end up miles ahead of a set of fiberglass doors. The only thing with the steel door, it will rust. The fiberglass ones won't, but steel doors will fit better. Even those doors right there fit better than any piece of fiberglass you'll ever buy. So, I think at this point, yeah, I think I need to repeat this process ×2, which I'm not going to do on camera, but yeah, seems like that's the way to go. So morbid curiosity got the best of me here, guys. So I went ahead and pulled all the stuff in the door out. The latch, the door handle, the lock, the rubber, the hinges. Hinges are very, very heavy on these. So let's update this. Let's weigh this bare door shelf that's got it. And just to show everything is on the up and up here, as you can see, it's the same door shelf. I just took it out because I noticed it was cracked around where the door latch was. So all that stuff is right there. And our scales are zeroed out. So like I said, once again, it's going to be hard for me to hold this and show you. I want this to be an accurate representation of what we got. Just going to sit it down. Right there. That door weighs 20 pounds bare. 20 pounds. So, correction. It's about 6 pounds difference between a fiberglass door shell and a steel one. And yes, I know there's still about a pound worth of metal missing from the bottom of it. But guys, that makes that $200 a pound. So, yeah. So I guess at this point, I might as well start trying to beat some of these dents out of this door. So it'd be a good way to show y'all how to address this stuff, and I'll flip around and show you what we're dealing with. So what we got here is previous damage that they use one of them old stud dent pullers on. As you see, it's pretty ugly. It's pretty ugly up here. So it's not like we run a good door. It just had a little rust under at the bottom. A little dot back there, and then of course the whole bottom of it's rotted out down there, but that's going to be pretty easy to fix. But these dents, what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to take a dolly, and I'm going to take a dolly like this. It's right here, it's slightly tapered on one side. It's old and beat up. And I'm going to take a body hammer right here. It's old and beat up on one side too. And I'm going to hold that dolly on the front side, and I'm going to beat this down. I'm going to beat this down, and then we'll have to weld them holes up. But pretty much, guys, I mean, this is what you got to do. I mean, working on a budget car. What I'm going to do, I can see my dent from the back side. So I'm going to hold my dolly on the bottom side, and I'm going to start with these screw holes. Going to end up with is it comes out a little proud. The good thing is we're not oil canned. So I'm going to take my dolly this way now, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to vary between on dolly and off dolly. And I'm going to move to the point ender of hammer now, because while I brought this down a lot, we're still a little proud. crowd around these screw holes. So I'm doing an off dolly. Until I can get that door down where we only have a very slight variance right here. So that right there, those holes will weld up and grind down, and this little skim coat of filler will get us in business. Well, it's next day and I've got the second door done. Surprisingly, the second door was in much better shape than the other door as far as the bottom of it goes. So let me flip around and I'll show it to you. So I got the second door cut, all the stuff out of it, and it's ready for some rust treatments to go on. But this door was a lot better as far as rust goes. I mean, it's not a good door at all. It was very rough, as you can see from all these holes drilled. And they're all the way down there, and the flange up here was bent. I'd come in here this morning and tried to straighten out some of the rough. You remember back to some of the first videos of this car, this was completely decimated all through here and in here. So I dollied it out the best I can. I got the body line a lot straighter and the roll here a lot straighter. There's only so much you can do because this metal is so stretched and so compromised. I got it straightened out the best I could. While this door does have a little rust down here at the bottom, it's all the way back, this whole section right here. So we got some choices to make as far as how we're going to address that. But the big elephant in the room is we need to start fixing that. So the easy way to fix these doors would be to put skins on them. Unfortunately, there's not a frame to put a skin on the driver's door. The passenger door, you could skin it. But I'm not going to skin these doors because I'm trying to work what I got, and we're going to try to make the best out of what we have. Because, like I said from the beginning, this is a budget deal, and the budget's pretty low on this car, and I've spent my budget money on it in the suspension pieces and the wheels and, you know, the roll cage and stuff that really, really matters as far as making a car work and go fast. So we're going to be really, really budget oriented when it comes to the outside of this car. And there may be some of this stuff that we just don't fix. But and when I say don't fix, I mean like putting door skins on it or panels in it. We may go in here and patch it. We may explore some other options to get rid of some of this stuff. But at this point, I need to start welding these holes up from their dent puller in these doors. We need to start trying to get a bottom in this other door, or something that resembles the bottom of the door where a weather strip could be attached to it, and we'll just go from there. And the good thing about welding up holes like this, guys, you really don't have to worry about warpage because it's already all went to crap. So I'll take a drill bit a little bit bigger than the hole, just enough to clean off the edges, you know, something like this. No pressure, just something to clean it up just a little bit around the holes. And then I'll take right here and I'll just start here on the side and I'll just knot these holes up. Like that right there. That metal where it's rolled over where they punched the holes through it with their dent puller is really thick. So it takes some of the warpage chances down. I'm just going in there, I'm going to dot all them holes up a little at a time by keeping a fill on that panel to make sure we don't damage it any more than we started with. And if some are curious what it looks like on the back side, thinking that it might have wires stuck all through it on the inside, no, it looks just like it does on the top side when you do it this way. And I'm going to dress it with a flat disc just like I did the other side. So I've been working along in the background on this driver's door bottom. And I figured, you know, some of you guys Maybe wondering how different kinds of patch panels will last over time. And maybe some that are kind of sketchy. So I literally scabbed this door together down here. I used some of the old rusty metal, still had holes in it. I used some new metal. I used some metal off some other stuff. I overlapped some patches. And I've done some pretty sketchy things down here that somebody may do in a car that's botched up for a car flipper. However, I did take some extra measures when I done this. All my metal was clean. I ground it down till it was clean. I also weld through primered anything that overlapped. So I figured this car would be a good, considering this driver's door is absolutely garbage, and I'm going to be looking out for a better shell in the future. Don't get me wrong here. I'm going to be looking out for a better door shell, and I might put a fiberglass door on it eventually. Even though the cost ratio don't necessarily pan out. So I figured this would be a good way to show you guys what can be done and how long it may last or may not last. So I'll flip around and show you what I've done. I've done this in a couple different ways. And 6 months, a year, 2 years, we'll have to come back to this point in this video to see where these spots are. But I figured if I could show you some ways to do this that you might not be able to afford to, and you just want to get a car on the road and drive it, not trying to be malicious and cover something up to sell to somebody, I figured maybe I could show you a way you could do it that would still give you a long-lasting result, but may not be the right way to do it, so to say. So we're going to start back here. This rust hole, I welded it 90% up. This is all weld. There is no panel, just weld in this corner. I wire brushed all this out I could. I weld through primer back in as far as I could get it. Couldn't weld up all the hole. It's kind of sketchy, kind of not great. But there's metal there and the metal's attached, right? Well, up here, I put a bottom in here. This is part of the old fender, the one that had the big rust hole in the bottom that was the roughest. I cut this out. I fold this seam back. I wire brushed this out good, weld through primered it really, really well in there. Slid it in there, pinched it up, welded it the best I could where it would attach on both ends, and the spot welding in a couple places along the way. Backyard bodywork quality stuff right here. Then I took the old flange that the rubber sits in and I welded it to this. Now this has holes in it still, and it's not great. The rubber sits up against that and glues to that area. Not good, but I did take my due diligence, and as you can see, it's clean as it's going to get. I overlapped the patch here over the rusty holes. I welded on both sides. Right there. I welded this to the brace. I scabbed a panel in here, welded to the outside door skin, and then I wire brushed and weld through primered this and hammered a patch over it. And up here, we're just going to fill this full of filler and see how long it actually stays in there. So guys, I wish, I could do something that's perfect all the time. This is going to be a race car. It's not really going to matter. Like I said, I'm going to find another door shell. I'm going to continue to look for a decent cheap door shell that I can cut up like this one. But I figured it'd be a good way to experiment and see how some of these patches that may be done a little better than your average backyard job that people put on these flipper cars. And we'll see how it lasts. The door's back structure is solid. Is it pretty down here? Absolutely not. It will be after we spread some filler on it. And I'm also going to do, and we're not going to use regular filler when we do this. So that's going to be another important note. If this gets wet, if it gets water behind any of this stuff, it's going to come out, guys. Don't matter how good you do it. If you would have bought a new door bottom, this whole section right here, put this whole inner frame in this door, if it still gets wet and there's still any rust, it's going to rot out. So I'm gonna let this car be kind of a test bed for things, and what better than a little bit of body work. I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time in this door because, like I said, you've seen it, I've seen it, everybody's seen it at this point. It's hot garbage and junk. So I'm not trying to pass anything off to anybody, and if anybody wants to know what was there, all they gotta do is go back and watch these videos. So I'm gonna get some OSFO in the morning because I am gonna treat this too with some OSFO. Same with the other door. It's definitely not gonna hurt them. And I'm gonna give this stuff every chance it's got to survive. I'm not setting it up to fail by any means. So let's get back to it. You just sitting there? Well, so I got the shells ready for some OSFO in the morning. Get them treated. Get the insides of them painted and the door jamb areas and some primer. We should be good to proceed forward from there. Well, these doors are turning into a multiple day ordeal. So I stopped last night at Ace Hardware. They quit carrying OSFO for whatever reason at our local location. Unfortunately, the only thing they had was this. Notice I said unfortunately. Let me flip it around. So I got everything coated down, and while this stuff is you know, working, it however is not working fast. It's done better on these pieces that I didn't even wire a brush or anything, and just sprayed it on it and rubbed it down with this paintbrush. The bad part about this stuff is you have to rinse it off. And you know, it's winter time and it's snowy outside, so I'm gonna have to drag these out and dig the water hose out. But it's working, but it's just 30 minutes and it's been on here over an hour at this point, and it's sure not really dissolved a whole lot of rust. And it's a gel, so it literally sprays out like a loopy, kind of like navel jelly does. So I don't know. But I got it because it was the only thing they had, and I really want to kind of get these doors back on the car so we can start working on some more fun stuff. You know, like the fiberglass front end, or you know, mocking the motor up or what have you. So I'm gonna let these sit here and soak and, you know, do something maybe. Not impressed with it, guys. Just order OSFO. Don't use any of this other crap, these rust converters, this rust magic crap. Just order OSFO. OSFO, you spray it on there, you don't even have to rinse it off. Scuff it down, blow it off, wipe it down a little thinner, you're ready to paint. This stuff, yeah, like I said, this is to rinse it off and not to let it dry. So considering every inch of these doors was solid rust, it's gonna be quite the thing when there's snow on the ground outside. Well, at this point we're 3 hours in, and I just rinsed this stuff off per their recommendation, and I've got it sitting in here in front of a blow heater trying to dry the water out of the door cracks. So let me flip around and I'll show you what we ended up with. As you can see, it didn't do hardly anything for that. Done a pretty decent job along that edge. Definitely edged. Didn't do much up in there. Didn't do much in here. Took a little off where the door hinges were. The other door really didn't do a whole lot to at all. Up in there, you can see there's still quite a bit of orange rust. And where I rinsed it off, it's already flash rust in there. But got everything cleaned up, trying to get it dried out as fast as possible. So I'll give that Rust-Oleum rust stuff a 3 out of 10. It does work. Not real well. It's pretty weak. Takes forever. And you had to clean everything afterwards. Moral of the story here is, guys, just stick to what works. Also works. And you don't have to rinse it off. You don't have to reintroduce new rust onto the stuff that you just attempted to take rust off of. Well, it's a little while later and I've got the doors hung back on the car. I just cleaned the door jambs where the hinges bolt up. Got that in primer the hinges and the door jamb on both the doors. I got them stripped down and primered up. So I'm gonna flip it around. I'm gonna show you where I'm at, and we'll just have to figure out where we can go from here. So like I said, doors bolted back up. The gap along the bottom is pretty decent, minus, you know, the rust. The door gap at the back is pretty decent. I got a piece of tape holding the door shut since all the latches and stuff are out of it. And that door straightened up pretty decent from where it was before. This one fits pretty decent. It's got a little bulge out right here in the bottom where I put that bottom in. I'm just gonna have to take a little hammer and dolly work. It's a little wobbly around the bottom down through there, but it's got a good even gap. We got a pretty decent gap here. It only slightly runs out up here at the top. So, pretty good considering I had this out, didn't have a door on it, put all this in there. Everything fits pretty decent. And like I said before, I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on these doors because they are rough and they are rusty. I just done enough to try to make them last a little while until I find something better to put on the car. Maybe we can put some fiberglass doors on it later. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. But for now, these will work. And they fit pretty decent. So at this point, I need to decide if I'm going to try to drag that other motor up here and try to mock it up, or if we need to start trying to mount the front end stuff. There's some thinking I've got to do in between here, so yeah. So I went ahead and cut the arches out of the front fenders. They were rough anyway and rusty too. This was kind of an old school way to make a radius wheel well in the 60s and 70s. Your front wheel arch is always bigger than your rear one. And it's going to be hard for me to hold it and show you, but there's quite a bit more and it's more of an angle. So if we have to radius these wheel wells, I've already got these panels ready to go. So I'm trying to put everything as good of use as I can, try to recycle what was already on the car and keep from having to do something completely custom. Using the front fender arches, the wheel well cutouts on the rear is an old school trick. So if we go to that point, I've got them cut out. They are rough too. They're bent up. They're not in great shape. Kind of like the rest of the car. So that said, guys, that's probably where I'm going to leave this video off. Some of it's ranting about rust killer. Some of it's ranting about rusty old rotten doors. And some of you probably won't like how I fixed the bottom of the driver's door. But let's just let it be an experiment, see what happens. Keep in mind that, you know, they sell new door shells and they sell fiberglass doors, and everything I've done to this car can be reversed, regardless of what some people may think. Unfortunately, is it worth reversing it? No, it's not. Was this car worthy of a restoration? Nope. As you can see, when it comes down to it and you tear into a car that's actually got decent bones, sometimes there's just not a lot of car left, guys. And that's kind of the case with this one. And I just figured this was the best route to go to get some use out of it, to give us kind of a neutral test bed for some of these engine combinations I got coming up in the future. So the next thing we need to do, we either need to get the front end on this car, get it mocked up, or we need to get an engine and transmission mocked up in the car. I'm leaning more towards the engine transmission, but we'll just have to wait till the next video to find out and see, because I honestly don't know myself where we're going from here. So if you like these kind of videos, guys, make sure you like this video, share them with your friends. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free and it does help the channel to grow. If you are a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys, and I look forward to everybody's comments down below. And if you haven't yet, check out Kentucky Mustang. There'll be a link to the website down there in the bottom in the description, along with a discount code that's free for everybody to use. If the discount code does not work, guys, let me know down in the comments below and I will get it fixed for you. So until next video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.